What does the second half split have to do with building what's next? That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a HerCsuite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I learn right along with you about portfolio careers and how we can live our best life today and going forward. I'm also the founder and CEO of HerCsuite, a portfolio career network where women are building what's next together and applying some of the things I'm talking about today every day. I can't wait for you to hear this topic and how we can move together forward with this slight mindset shift about the second half. Let's get started with this idea now. Picture this. You're running a race. It could be a 5K, it could be a marathon, and you're halfway through, and you're just trying to think about how to make it to the end. The second half split is an idea that rather than pushing through to make it to the end, the second half is actually your better half. You're running faster and you're making better time than you did in the beginning. I can think of times in my life when I was racing sailboats and we would be on the course and I had given everything I could if it was blowing heavy wind out and we needed to just push that last bit to get to the finish line. And it was a whole mindset shift to really get going and finish faster, stronger, better at the end. And that idea, I think we all can apply to our lives as we start to think about what we're going to do next. The beautiful thing is that in this phase of building what's next, we get to decide, are we going to go full out and live our best life? Or are we going to maybe not do that and not take advantage of all that is out there for us? This doesn't mean that you have to push harder or be more stressed out. Actually, the opposite. It means that you get to choose how you're going to spend your time and live those moments meaningfully and surrounded by people that lift you up. So much of the time, we believe that success has a deadline. I know I used to think that. I used to have milestones in my life, and age was one of them, that by this age, I have to have, and I was in sales, so I have to have sold X amount of millions of dollars, and then I will have reached it. Although, guess what happens when you're on that hamster wheel? You keep going and you keep thinking, one more. When I reach this, then. When I do this, then. We've all had that in our careers at some point. And it's fatiguing, isn't it? It's so exhausting. But the flip side of that is once you reach a point and you are about to cross the threshold into your 2.0, you have the capability of doing the second split, of going full out and thinking differently. And you're not thinking about milestones in the same way, right? You're thinking about them in ways that are meaningful to you. One of the things that I see so often in HerCsuite with people building out their portfolio career is really what it means is multiple revenue streams and interests. Our careers have been so vertically constrained. For me, I did the same thing for 29 years. That's a long time. I was in the trade show industry selling, essentially, for 29 years. Now, I rose up and I was a leader, but I was still operating in the same vertical going upward. Today, a portfolio career is something totally different. It's the opportunity to go wide and expand and dream and think of different things. When I left my career 6 years ago, I really thought I had to drop the mic and walk off the stage. I had been doing so many events, thousands of events every year, and I was ready to not go back to the trade show floor, which actually, if I think about it, I don't know that I've been back to a trade show floor, the traditional sense, since I left. However, there's all these things that I like to do, and I felt like I had to walk away from everything. Maybe you're at a point in your career where you're thinking that too, that you think that I have to walk away from everything. Well, this is to help you see things differently because what you can do now as you build what's next and do the second half split is to think bigger. And one way is landing a corporate board role. I never would have thought about boards the way I do today if I hadn't met my partner, the person that inspires me about boards, Naomi Kent. I can still remember the first time I saw her. I went to a webinar. She was giving a webinar. It was during the pandemic, full pandemic. We were all on Zoom. And I saw this person who was so poised, so put together. She was guiding people to think about how they could serve on boards, which I had never thought about. And we connected and started talking. And fast forward over 4.5 years later, we're still doing things together. And every time I see her, she is living that split second half. I will tell you that she levels me up every time we get together. It gets me to think differently. I'm so inspired. And I'm so excited because she lets me do the things that I really love doing, which is the event and organization and collaborating and finding the right mix of people to come together. And she comes in and educates, and it's a wonderful blend. And I think that we all need someone like that in our lives that help us move forward. And that's the one thing that boards really does. The thing that I've observed in our weekly, bi monthly programs that we do is that women come and they show up and it's very professional and you are leveling up to your best self, your personal brand, how you talk about yourself. All of those things get refined when you're looking for a board role. So even if you've been in corporate and you were in a C-suite role or in a VP role or a director role and you feel like you are ready to take that next step, I will tell you serving on a board is the highest position that you can take. And to get there, you do have to level up, but there's so many things that can come your way to really help you with that best second half that you might not have thought about. And I know I hadn't thought about it. And so I'm going to share with you 5 key things that I've learned in working with Naomi and working with the people in our community and also doing our in person events, which the in person, nothing quite compares to a room of people with the synergy and the energy. And you can just see the learning happening in real time and you see the results. It's magic. I love it. So, the 5 things that I've learned about thinking differently and that split second half and how to really leverage what we know and move it into the best next half of our lives. The thing that's really interesting to me is that you get to choose your path with corporate boards. I always thought there was pretty much one kind. I thought public boards, to be honest. I'm embarrassed to say that, but that's the truth. And it turns out there's so many different types of boards from advisory boards, family owned businesses, corporate, private, all these different ways that you can lend your expertise. And so the first thing that people realize when they start pursuing their board career is that it's an opportunity to take what you've learned along the journey and you get to give it back meaningfully. You get to help guide a company through transformation, through growth, help them avoid risk that they might not be seeing because of your lived experience. And that is something that maybe you didn't feel all the time in your career. There may have been times when you had a negative experience with a colleague or a boss. On a board, sure, are there dynamics that happen? Yes. But the opportunity to guide a company is really tremendous. And to see it grow and thrive is perhaps one of the best things that can come out of this idea of living your best and greatest moment is serving on a board. It is going to a place that you might not have thought of before. One of the things that I think is really rewarding, aside from giving back, is that your opinion is really valued. People are looking to you for a specific expertise and you are lending it and they appreciate it. How many times in our careers have we lent our expertise and maybe it fell flat? And it's not that we're all looking for a pat on the back and, oh, that was so great. But it does feel good when someone comes to you and says, you know what, that thing that you did really meant a lot to me. I had a member do that to me recently this week, and it was so moving to hear how something I had said helped her think about her career differently. And that's what happens when you're on a board and you can contribute and help guide the company. They really value your insights. Another thing that really is helpful and to reset how you might think of a board is it's the highest position in a company. Even if you were in the C suite or you were a leader, wherever you've been on your career journey, being on a board is the highest place you can be. If you are in a career where maybe you finished or you're thinking of finishing and you're at a director level and you think, I could never be on a board, I'm here to tell you, you can and you should. There is a board for everyone. And there's this opportunity that you can guide a company, and how rewarding that is that you are lending that expertise. One of the best things that I hear from board directors, and they often share this with me, is the benefit of nose in, hands out. You are no longer doing the doing. Do you have to prepare for a board meeting? Yes. Do you have to have everything put together so that if you're presenting to the board, if you're a committee chair, if you're the chair of the board, that requires a lot of preparation. I'm not saying you're not preparing for the board director meeting, but you are not doing the doing. You are not doing the work. And so you're lending that expertise, but you're not in the weeds, which a lot of executives really like. And that is one of the benefits of being on a board, is really doing this in a way that you're not feeling the burden of having to do all the things that you would have had to do in a corporate role. And lastly, I think, and this is probably my favorite out of all the things that happen when you're on a board, is that you get to be a curious learner. Boards look for people that are learning constantly, and especially in an age of AI, in an age of constant change. We need people that want to learn, apply what they're learning, and be able to help others along the way. If you're on a board and you don't know anything about AI, it's pretty hard to advise them on how they can grow their business in this day and age. So be a curious learner. Think about how you can add value. It is one of the best things that you can do to have this best, stronger second half in your life. And I will tell you that board directors are in their roles well into their 70s, and some are even in their early 80s. There are cutoffs when you're on a public board, but it's wonderful to think and imagine that you can have this best next second half of giving back and making a difference and not having to do all the work, but you get to give advice. Isn't that sounding so wonderful and amazing? I think it does, because it's one of the greatest joys is when we can help others, when we can lift them up, when we can help a company strive, thrive, and not just survive, and especially in this environment. That is a gift that you can give that will last and make a legacy impact. If you're thinking about your second half and what am I going to do? How am I going to build what's next? I want you to pause and think about being on a board. It is one of the best ways that you can influence the future. We need more women on boards to balance out decision making. And we make up 51% of the population. We need our voice to give balance to a company and to what they're doing. We are consumers. We make decisions. We make 85% of the buying decisions in most households, if not 100%. And so we have to reflect that in the boardroom. And so I want to encourage you, really think about, is this my moment? Is 2026 my year that I'm going to do the split second half and I'm going to go full out, and I am going to not let confidence, doubt, belief that I'm not ready hold me back? If this sounds like something that you want to try, I would love to talk with you. My calendar is going to be in the show notes so you can book time with me and talk to me about your board journey. We have an incredible program coming up in person at LinkedIn. It's going to be amazing. They are going to have a special session on how to optimize your personal brand. I can't wait to do it with Naomi. I always learn from her, even though we've done this program multiple times. I always learn something new, which is my favorite thing. And I think you will too. If you're in Chicago or if you want to join us and you're not in Chicago, fly in. It's one day. You will get what you need to nail the interview and land where you want to go. So, my hope for you in listening to this episode is I hope I've opened some ideas for you for your future, for your second next best life. You are worth it. You can do whatever you want to visualize and put your mind to. The sky's the limit. Limitless opportunities are waiting for you. I want you to remember, keep shining your light bright. The world needs you. Thanks for listening to this special episode as I walked you through kind of the behind the scenes of how we are creating this program and why I'm so excited about this idea of the second half and what's possible. I never would have thought about board service had I not met Naomi Kent. I wouldn't have thought of how we can make a difference for women to land corporate board roles if I hadn't met Naomi. She really is a force and does amazing things. I'm so grateful to her and to all of our listeners, all of our members who are in our boards programs, our alumna. I love all the things that you're doing, and I can't wait for 2026 to be our split. It's almost half the year. Let's finish the second half of this year just like a split race and keep going.